What's up, guys? Welcome to A Clever Homeowner. We're sitting here having a little bit of an argument, episode 1, right?
Yep.
Wondering, what the hell are we going to talk about? And I'm telling Melvin, look, we need to provide value. This page, if we're going to do something, we got 26 years of banking, we got 18 years of real estate, managing a team and growing business. And my thing is, look, we need to give people a little bit of meat and vegetables so they can see we know what we're talking about. But this guy thinks the only question that people want to hear is,
well, is now a good time to buy? It seems to be like the number one question our clients have for us right now. Is it a good time to buy? Rates are high, prices are high, they haven't come down, right? Is now a good time or not? And I'm sure that's the question that you guys have in your mind.
This gentleman is like, nope, based on AI and based on all the information out there, there's one question that needs to be addressed first.
Look, we have a list of questions that most of our clients continue to ask us throughout the years, right? But the number one that seems to be at the top of the list is now a good time to buy or not? And that is something that I feel most people, even when I was a buyer and I wasn't a real estate agent, right?
True, of course.
That's what killed me.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was 2000. I don't. You probably guys remember, right? 2006, 2005. Prices were crazy expensive.
Yeah. Then the short sale. Then it was short sale city, and everyone was selling properties and running away. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So is now a good time to buy or not? To buy a home?
Well, look, guys, from the banking side, I'll keep it simple, right? Out of pure experience. So someone that bought a house, let's just say in, end of 2007, and they're like, man, I bought this house. I got a 30-year fix. I just paid $580,000 for this 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Norwalk or some little part of Downey. Now everyone's short selling, right? The market comes tumbling down a little bit. And that person now is like, man, why am I going to be making payments on this $580,000 home, right? When all of a sudden I'm getting an appraisal, my neighbor just short sold his house for $350,000. There's panic. Everyone's thinking that the sky is falling. Well, now fast forward to today, that person that did that in 2006 or 7 that kept that home that they bought at $580,000, they got pre-qualified. So they didn't buy something that was outside of their means. Mm-hmm. It's been 20 years. That same house that in 2008 and 9, when they were worried that the sky is falling because the value went from $580,000 to $390,000. What is that house selling for? What's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath selling for in Norwalk today, Melvin?
$750,000 all day long.
So there you go, right? $750,000, $800,000. And on top of that, they've had that mortgage for 20 years, which means they've probably paid off a good 70% of that principal balance. So a house they owed $580,000 on, now they might owe $200,000. Mm-hmm. Now that house is also worth $750,000. So they've gained 30 to 40% of equity over that time. So the question really comes down to answer the question the right way. Yeah. What is it?
I think we talked about this earlier, right? It comes down to necessity, number one.
Yep.
Right? Meaning that, is this the right time for you to buy a home?
Absolutely.
Not the market, right? Not what's going on with the with interest rates, not what's going on, believe it or not what's going on with the economy, not what's going on with the presidency, none of that.
Nope.
Number one question is, do you have a necessity within yourself or your family to make a move, right? And that means, is your family growing right now?
Absolutely.
That's the number one concern. Are your kids, maybe you already have kids, are your kids in the right school, right? Is the school district going bad and now you need to move to a better school district? Those are actual needs. Are you relocating?
Yeah, people problems, right? It's real life problems. And the way you answer those questions, guys, it's real simple. Like Melvin said, it's necessity. Because, and then you get into, from the banking side. So from Melvin's world, and from a real estate agent's perspective, right, they're looking at these things. Where are you living now? Where do you want to live? What are the costs associated with these things? What type of security do you want? Do you want to guarantee that your children are going to, go from kindergarten to 12th grade in the same district and have the same friends? Like, exactly that. There's all these little tiny what ifs and things that you need to evaluate. And then you get to a point, and I love to tell people it comes down to two things. Everyone has an expectation and then there's a reality,
Yes.
right? And our job is to show you where those two things intertwine, because there's expectation, reality. Where do we meet in the middle? And that all comes down to the pre-approval process. And by pre-approval process, we're not just talking about send me your W-2s and pay stubs. I mean, what do I literally tell every client when they call us, whether it's from Yelp or from Google or from a past referral, and they say, hey, I want to buy, and you say, and we talk to a client, what's the first thing that I text or I tell people on the phone when I tell them what I need when we meet?
When can you come in?
Exactly. And do I and do I literally tell them I'll say the first thing is, I don't care about your income. I don't care about your credit scores, right? The first thing is, let's have a conversation. Yep. Not only with the finance guy, but from someone that is a professional that understands how these different markets work. And our job is to peel the layers of that personal onion back and get to all the nuances and all these things that make you tick.
Yeah, I mean, because, think about this, right? Let's just say that you do have a need now, right?
Yeah.
And now you need to make the numbers make sense.
Yep.
Right? That's when okay, let's come in. Let's take a look at all the information.
Absolutely.
Right? Let's see how much home we can afford, right? Because in reality is that if you have the need, right, and the numbers make sense monthly, it does not matter what the rate is, what the price of the home is, right?
Not at all.
Not at all. If you can make that monthly payment and still feel comfortable as a family, it does not matter, because we know historically home values continue to go up.
And it's a wave. And every time that wave goes down, it comes back up and it crashes even higher. That is where the education piece comes in. You know, part of the biggest problem in 2006, in 2005, in 2007 was a lot of financing was done short term. It was people buying way out of their means. Hey, let me buy this giant ass house that I can't afford, but I'll get it on a 2-year arm, and I'm gonna roll the dice, and I'm gonna hope that, 2 years from now my value went up and rates came down 3%, and now I can refinance and save all this money. And that is setting people up for failure. Yep. So like when I talk to someone, that's honest truth. When we come in for a pre-qualification, and people say, well, should I send you my documents? My first thing to them is, well, if you qualify for a $10,000 payment, do you want to make a $10,000 payment? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, then that's the last thing we need to talk about.
Yeah.
The first thing is let's, exactly like Mel said, let's find the need. Like, is it a 2-bedroom, 1-bath? Are you getting married? Are you expecting kids? Like, you need a plan for your future, and having a good agent and a good banker, more than anything else. You might get someone that charges you a little bit more in points, or an agent that isn't willing to, drive far to help you, and they may, you may lose some money on closing costs. But more importantly, the service that you get, it's the agent and the banker, the questions that you're asked, the way that we approach things, the answers that we get from you is what allows us to serve you best, yes. Right? I'll give you an example. We had a client that really wanted to live in a specific city. This is one of our, a couple months ago. And I remember specifically because the husband and wife said, man, we really want to live here, and it's we don't care. We'll take a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo. And I went over all the stuff with them and kind of explained everything and numbers and difference between condos and single family residences and all this other stuff. And the first thing this guy did when we were driving by is he started taking them to, Melvin said, oh, well, there's your school. Let me show you where the nearest preschool is. Here's where like the nearest elementary school is. And it was far. It was like 4 or 5 miles away from this property. And they're like, oh man, that's kind of far. And Melvin's like, well, our kids in your future. And they were both like, you know what? We started talking about it the other day. And this guy's like, well, then we need to reassess the whole area completely. So something that they were interested in looking at, they went over numbers with me, but getting in a car, and this guy's like, well, hey, let me show you guys where the schools are at. Let me show you where this is. Do you have any intention on kids? Because if you do you want to be driving 5 miles one way to just drop your kid off at kindergarten, and that's...
Yeah, and sadly, right, in Southern California, especially LA County, schools can completely change.
Absolutely.
The quality of school
100%.
can completely change within the same city, We know a couple of schools are a lot better in one city versus the
Oh,
other
100%. Or one city where one side of the city and the other side, east versus west, are completely different worlds.
Exactly. So sending, kids is a huge part of making the decision. But I mean, I think after all, I mean, it comes down to that old saying, right? You kind of date the rate, but you marry the home.
Yep.
Meaning that you can always refinance down the line. Right?
Absolutely.
If you keep trying to time the market, you'll never jump in, and you'll miss out on, and you'll probably end up paying you're going to end up paying somebody's mortgage.
Well, I'll give you an example, a perfect example of that, right? I just shared this the other day with some people that were talking about it, and they were older, and they're like, oh, well, we bought, talking with their kids. And it's funny because I looked up the data on it. So, and the dad was talking about this. So someone, let's say in 1971 or 72, I believe, and rates, got up to like 7.25%, 7.5%. If that person said, you know what, I'm waiting till rates come down before I buy a house, because you get that now, right? There's that expectation. During COVID, rates dropped down into the 2s, and now you get people that are like, nope, I'm waiting for this, and I
keep waiting because that's not going to come back.
Exactly.
Simple. Unless we have a major
that was a world pandemic, and we were using real estate to basically give CPR
and we
to
were
the
printing,
economy.
and we were printing money like crazy.
So
it was a totally different.
So that's a different. But let's just say from 1971, 72, rates are 7.5. For someone that wanted to wait until rates got better or dropped below that, it was 1993. So you're talking 22 years.
Yeah.
So yes, 1971 to 1993. So 22 years later, rates finally did come down. But guess what happened to real estate? The values went up 400%. So that property that you waited for, 22 years went by. I mean, that's a 30-year mortgage, Mel, almost.
Yep.
Like
almost 30 years.
Your house is paid off.
You could have paid it off at what, 15, 18? Anyway.
Yeah, and if you bought a house from, a landlord, someone that bought that property, said, yeah, you know what, you should wait. Just pay me some rent on this thing. Maybe you were saving $500-600 a month. I guarantee over those 22 years, your income went up. But the reality is you can't time things. You don't know when values are going to come down a little bit. You don't know when they're going to go up. I can tell you that in California, Mel knows this, we're limited on space. Things are going up.
Population is going up.
And you see structures now where a grocery store's closing down, and they're not building another Kohl's or grocery store. They're knocking that thing down, and they're doing a 4-story condominiums.
Yep.
And people said, a couple years ago when rates went from 3% to 5%, that values would drop, and they didn't. When rates went from 5 to 6, did values drop? Mm-hmm. They didn't. Yep. When they went to 7, did values drop? They didn't. California is its own real estate universe, and regardless of what anybody tells you, at the end of the day, Mel hit the nail on the head, is that if you plan for your own future and not base your decisions on, hoping that the market does this, or hoping that, buying this home and then saying, oh, well, I need to make sure that I get $300,000 in equity so I could sell this and upgrade. Like, those things are, you can't predict the market, but what you can do is you can prepare, right? And
I mean, it comes down to your needs, right? Do you have a need? Do you feel secure in your job?
Absolutely.
Number 2, right? And do the numbers make sense with the money that you're making right now?
Absolutely.
Right? Making that payment. Because the last thing that you want is to be house poor, right?
Yeah, it's pointless to say, I own a house, I could remodel it, but then you can't afford to do anything.
Exactly. So you keep your lifestyle to at a level that you like, right? Yes, your payment is going to go up. It's going to be different than a rent payment, right?
You got taxes, you got insurance, you got mortgages.
It's going to be different. However, it's going to pay you back in just quickly in 2 ways. In the short term, your tax returns. You're going to get a lot more money back on taxes.
Right off all that mortgage interest.
Yep, a lot more. I mean, I remember when I bought my home and I got my first tax the year after that I did my taxes after owning the home. I was like, whoa, huge difference, right?
Of course.
And then I mean, I remember taking a really nice vacation.
Well, look, that's
right?
not, and we're not.
And then long term too, right? When you're paying off that rent, nothing is happening. You're just throwing money away.
Yep.
Right? I can go sell that first home that I bought, right? And probably net somewhere between $350K right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was all in when I bought my property, all in, right?
Yeah.
Cash out of my pocket.
It's crazy.
Cash out of my pocket was somewhere around 20K.
Yeah.
Right? I think it was 24K, right?
Yep.
And now I can sell it for 350 plus. That's what I can net in my pocket.
Yep.
Tell me if that's not a great return on investment.
And again, people that look at that and go, oh, well, that's not true. Well, I can tell you this, that when you go to your tax preparer and you start making more money, I get people that call all the time and they're like, Dave, they call me up. I got your number from so-and-so. My tax guy said, what? I start making more money. Your tax guy says, hey, you need to buy property. Because, and another thing that people don't understand, guys, is it seems scary. It really does sometimes when you're like, oh man, I'm a renter. Yeah. What happens if I lose my job? Well, here's the truth. And I'll be honest with you. When COVID hit and people lost their jobs, there's a thing on a mortgage called forbearance where people could call up their mortgage company and say, hey, I lost my job because of COVID. They could do what's called a forbearance plan. There's people that got 6 months, 12 months relief. Some even longer than that because of that forbearance plan. But that's because they had that relationship with the bank. If you go through hardships, you can call and do that stuff and work out exactly that forbearance plans. Or you may be able to go to a bank and say, look, man, I lost my job or this happened or that happened. And banks will get your documents. They'll reanalyze things sometimes and they'll work with you to this isn't guaranteed, but what I'm saying is that when you have a mortgage and hardships occur, there are options that you can deal directly with mortgage companies, the servicers of your loan. In the case of COVID, government even stepped in and said, hey, you can do these forbearance plans, where people got 12 months, they didn't have to make a mortgage payment, some longer. Mm-hmm. When it's a rental, you don't have that option. Exactly. Your renter's just going to say, hey, dude, you're not paying me rent. Here's your 60-day notice to vacate, whatever that is. Sometimes it's harder. I mean, you could be a dick and be like, I'm not moving, and then deal with that. But you're waking up every day and you're wondering what the hell is going to happen, right? So, and another thing is that, you're renting a house. Maybe you're renting this house and it's beautiful, right? Because people are like, oh, dude, I don't want to buy, but I want to rent this beautiful home in North Downey, and it's $5,500 a month. And maybe the rental on that property or the purchase on that property is $1,000, $1,500 more. But they want to save that money. But they're there for 10 years. Seller decides, I want to sell this thing. Or maybe you lose a job and you're like, man, I can't afford this anymore. Well, if that was a house that you purchased, you had 10 years in that thing and you knocked out 10 years worth of principal, chances are you could probably sell that thing and walk away with something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have clients all the time that sometimes things change, right? They have
absolutely.
to move. Maybe instead of, the plans were to have 2 babies and now they have 3, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And the home doesn't fit anymore, the needs, and they end up selling a little quicker than they imagined. They still walk away with enough money to put it in their savings account and to buy their next property. Why? Because Southern California, the market always stays pretty healthy. I'm going to give you a piece of information right now. So I wanted to give you a little nugget. Right?
There you go. Give them. Nuggets are good.
So some nuggets, right? So some buyer hacks. So if you're still worried about homes, like prices dropping, and it's going to be a drop like 2008, I'm here to tell you that it's probably not going to happen. I'm just going to be honest with you, right? That's the reality of things, okay?
Very true.
However, you do have great deals going on right now. Why? Homes have started to sit on the market a little bit longer. Now we're in the buyer's market, right? What that means for you is, here's the nugget of information. When people say it's a buyer's market, that means that there are more homes, more buyers out there that there are more homes out there that there are buyers available for those homes, basically, right? In a nutshell.
Exactly.
So homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer. So here's what I got for you. On a new construction home, a sale that is a new home, and a resale, right? Those are the 2 types of markets that we have in real estate. On a new construction, you're seeing a ton of deals, right?
Tons.
our last client in the new construction, we got them 22K towards their closing costs.
Absolutely.
And an extra 62K in discounts on the home.
On the home itself.
It $80,000+ in savings, right? Not just in the pocket, but also in the finance part, okay? And then that's on the new construction. That means that builders are starting to see the difference out there, and they starting to discount these homes. But you need a realtor and a team to come in. Don't go in there directly, because you're not going to get that kind of discount, trust me, from in the house, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we even got the solar panels included.
Everything.
Fridge, washer and dryer.
And the backyard. And credits for the backyard, too, to rebuild the backyard. Yeah.
You're not going to get that if you just walk in there.
But here's where that came from, though, guys, right? With that whole deal is they come in, they called. Someone reached out off Yelp. We sat down together. I said, come on in the office. We don't need to run credit. I don't need to look at your income. We got them educated. We talked about what they wanted to do or their marriage plans. And they basically said, look, we want something shiny and pretty and new.
And big.
And giant. Yeah. And I basically was like, look, well, based on the payment you guys want to make, this is their expectation was in this Orange County, LA County circle. And I just said, put your hand up. And then I just grabbed their fingers and said, like, open that circle up, right? And then that's when, once I got them done and we went over the different types of loans and products and programs and downs and expectations, then I connected them with Mel and basically we do a 3-way call. And I said, Mel, this is the type of payment they want to make. These are the areas they wanted to live.
Yeah. Show
them basically where, with the price point that they want, where's that median at and where do they go? So Mel, because that's my job is the financing and the banking and the numbers. His job is the areas and knowing where the deals are at and value. So they ended up moving. The funny thing is where they wanted to be, and one of the things that he did that made me laugh is from one of their jobs, the primary earner's job, where they were renting to that person's job, and then they wanted to be in outskirts of, like, say, Culver City area, right? And where they worked in the in like the Orange County area, it was, I want to say, like 4 miles closer than where they purchased their house, where brand new homes were being built in a different county. Yeah. So they expected one thing. All we did was take them south, but they got a brand new home, $80,000 off.
And it was about 1,400, 1,500 square feet bigger than anything else that they were looking at before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then they got a massive discount.
And again, that's and it was a beautiful neighborhood.
And better schools too on top of that.
But it all comes down to, guys, like I said, expectation and reality. Numbers wise, sometimes you're gonna get someone, right, that comes in and they're like, no, Dave, I have to live, within 10 miles of mom. I take care of this, or, we both work at different places. These are where our kids go to school. And sometimes life doesn't allow you to relocate. And we've had situations like that too, where someone comes in and I'm like, well, look, maybe you can't afford a single family home, but we can take advantage of some of these amazing programs for buyers like yourself that are buying a house that you intend to occupy. And we've had clients where, they couldn't qualify for a $650,000 house. They could, but they weren't quite comfortable with the payment. But then you get them in a 2 or 3 unit property where that price point's maybe $150,000 more, but now they have 2 tenants paying them rent every month.
And we could probably cover that in the next episode. Yeah. Let's not give them a little too much.
But there's always options, guys, yeah, and that's when getting together and talking and
and that was a new construction home deal, right? Yep. On the resale side. Okay, we're seeing homes sit on the market a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So just for example, yesterday, had a client, we went out and looked at some homes, Costa Mesa area, some really nice homes, right?
Yep.
$2.5 million to $3.5 million. Even, I know for a fact, because my old office was right in Costa Mesa, one of the primary brokerages in the area. So I know those homes very well also, right? And I remember just 3 years ago, those homes were selling
fast.
20 days.
Lightning bolt
20,
speed.
30 days. A $2.5 million to $3.5 million home was flying like hotcakes.
Absolutely.
Those homes that we went to see yesterday, one was the lowest was 28 days. The another one was 42 days, and the last one was 75 days on market. Guess which one they wanted to place an offer on? 75 day on the market property. And guess what kind of negotiation you can do with a home that has been sitting on the market for 75 days, right? We're going to be super aggressive.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sky's the limit.
We're asking for full closing costs, which you can only imagine on a $3 million home.
It's a big chunk of change, guys.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of Starbucks, a lot of coffee, that's
a lot of vacations.
Furniture, a lot of vacations. That's pretty much everything.
And then on top of $120,000 off the price, right? So you can be aggressive today. So if you're still wondering, prices are high, right? I get it.
Yeah.
Interest rates are high. However, rates are a normal rate. When I bought my first home, I paid 5.25 was my rate. And
Absolutely.
that's a normal rate. We're just, a little bit, our brains got a little used to 2.5%.
And here's the reality with that.
That's not normal.
When it comes to that stuff, the funny thing is people bullshit and numbers tell the truth. That's what we always, that's something I constantly tell people. But here's a little funny thing, that because you will get someone that comes in and says, dude, I really wanted that 3%, right? Because you're going to have one friend that bought a house. Let's say you got your one buddy who bought their house in 2021 and they got a 2.6%, a 2.5%. And now you're buying your house today and you're going that same FHA loans at, 5.8. Let's just use a random number, right? We're not giving you like factual rates, but let's just say back then rates were in the 2s and now they're in the 5s. So just off the numbers on a $600,000-$700,000 house, you are 100% today going to be paying probably $1,000 to $1,400, say more a month, right? Because your rates, you got a rate now that instead of your friend's 3%, you got a 5.99. So you're paying $1,000, $1,200 more a month. But the difference is this: when the rates were down, when a client, Melvin, in 2020, when we had a client that we'd pre-approve for $700,000, and there was a house listed in, let's just call it Whittier, and they went and placed an offer on that house when rates were at 3%. How many offers? On a house listed at $700,000? How many offers was that agent getting? And just let them know what was the competition?
At the very minimum, 12 to 15 offers. At the very minimum. Right?
Every house.
I saw the same thing with my own listings, right?
Yep.
At the very minimum, 12. So let's say 15 offers, right? 15 offers. That means that you have 14 people to beat. People were adding on top of their offer, right? The original offers, like getting back, and their counter offer, they were adding 80, 85, 90, 100K on top over price. Now, look, like I said before, you can always refinance.
But here, look, to go back on that point.
Once you pay that price, you're set on that price.
We're going to look at some simple math here, because I'm the math guy. So let's just take that point. Right, guys? We're talking 2020, 21. Let's just call it 60 to 80K. So someone in 20 or 21, simple math, $60,000 to $80,000 over asking price because they were in a market where rates were down, everyone was trying to buy, there was gas, foots on the gas pedal, listing agents coming out saying, hey, let's list this house at 700. Oh, that's low. And they're going, don't worry about it. We're going to get 20 offers on this house the first damn weekend that it's up. And now your clients, you get emotionally attached to a house. So people are coming in, no, look, I'll offer 20,000 over, 40,000, 60, 80. So let's, even if we took 60 grand, scratch out that 80 and take 60,000. Now today, you're not getting a 2.99 or 3%. Let's say that your rate is, again, let's say you're at 5.99, you're paying $1,000 more a month. But a house listed 7, and Melvin writes up an offer, let's say at 7, and get you back, or in some of our cases, we're getting you back your closing costs covered or other stuff. So maybe as an example, on an FHA loan, you're putting 3.5% down. These people back then were doing the same type of programs, but instead of them putting 10 or 15% down, they were going, dude, I'll just put the minimum 3.5, and I'll use all my extra down payment money to bring in over asking price. So yes, the rates were better for them, but they were also coming in with $50,000 to $60,000 more out of pocket.
Yeah.
So you take that.
And lots of times, family members were pitching in.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of that. So it's not just your money. You're also
gifting. Everyone's helping you, gifting you their funds also, to help you put your down payment.
Exactly. We saw a lot of clients calling mom, dad, uncles, everybody pitching in. So now we were talking about savings accounts from the entire family being drained.
Yep.
To get into
absolutely. And again, if you put 60 to 80 grand down more just to get into a house because you were there, you were buying while everyone else was buying, someone that's buying now, they're paying $1,000 more a month. Let's just say Mel bought his house in 2021 and put down $65,000 over asking price. I'm buying my house today, and I'm putting 3.5. I'm going FHA. I'm putting 3.5% down. Yes, my rate's 2.5%, 3% higher, so I'm paying $1,000 to $1,300 more a month. But this cat put 60 to 80 grand more down on day one than I had to, and we're not talking an extra 80,000 down towards the principal. So it's like they're putting 10 or 15% down. We're just talking over asking price, which means they're putting the minimum down plus their asking price. I have to stay in my mortgage for say 50 to 60 months, 5 years, just to burn up that extra by $1,000 more a month, just to get to where Mel was at on day one. And guess what? 2-3 years from now, we're all going to be refinancing into the same loan. Yep. So bottom line, again, what we talk about is the timing doesn't matter. What matters is, are you financially prepared? Do you have job security?
Mm-hmm. If there's a need.
If there's a need and there's a want. And if that's the case, you get pre-qualified. You talk to 2 professionals that are going to walk you through, one thing that, and again, guys, I know before we have to end this one, it's so vital. But the other day we had a client, and I want to bring this up because, again, your team matters more than most things matter. And what I mean by team is the agent and, your banker. And we had a lady that was dead set on this property. And this guy asked her a question and said, well, did you go see the house like I told you at night? She's like, no, we just saw it in the morning and we saw it like at noon. And this guy's like, you don't want to make an offer on this property or buy a home and not know what the street looks like at night when everyone's home. Go see it on like a Saturday night, see what the neighbors look like, see what the vibe is out there. And this lady came back and she's like, oh my God, Melvin, at night when all the cars were parked and that street filled up, it was narrow. I felt claustrophobic. And she would have bought this house if it wasn't for her agent saying, hey, go see this property in morning conditions, Friday night, Saturday afternoon, see if the neighbors are out, see what the traffic conditions are like. These are little things that matter during the process. So again, guys, to recap, the rates matter, Melvin, when you're buying a house?
Absolutely not. You can always refinance.
Are you ever going to catch the market at the most perfect time?
Never.
It's impossible, guys.
Impossible.
And anyone that tells you that you can, they're full of shit, because one day it could be up, one day it could be a little bit down. But one thing we do know is over time, values fluctuate and they'll come down, but every time they go up, it's a higher cap. We do know that rates will be coming down. We can't exactly time it, but we do know that, they artificially pumped them up and they will be coming back down. What matters is, are you motivated? Do the numbers make sense? And do you have the right team of people that are going to guide you to make sure that, every decision you make is coming from a place of knowledge and a place of knowing? And that is exactly why we started this page. It's called Be a Clever Homeowner, because we don't want to set people up to fail. We set people up to succeed, and you do that by educating people and by empowering people, and honestly by becoming friends, because most of these clients that we have, we end up hanging out, we're chilling with.
Next week, we're going to the movies.
So
a couple of old clients.
So there you go. I mean, it's we want to say thank you guys for listening. I know we went off on a bunch of tangents, but when someone asks us this question and they're sitting in my office, this is kind of the conversation that we have, right? It's not just yes or no. It's, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So you guys can expect a lot more of that. We'll get into some more detail.
Yeah, I think next week we can talk about the different programs.
Different types of loans.
Yeah, different types of loans would be a great
Is
idea.
first-time homebuyer a myth? Or like, is that a real saying, or is it bullshit? Like, there's some good information we're gonna get you guys in. So tag along with us on this journey. We're gonna have a lot of great information. We're gonna be testing and tasting.
Yes.
Some whiskeys, some wines.
So here's the thing. We're gonna do this. Starting next show, we're gonna start reviewing at the end of the show a different bottle of something. Right.
Nice.
So
whiskeys, beers, all the good stuff.
Dave is a big whiskey and beer guy. You know,
absolutely.
I have become a wine person somehow.
Makes sense, right? The banker, your banker, like, shorts, sandals, whiskey and beer, and then and I got to tell you guys, it is funny when it comes to that, because I've had a client where they're looking at some house in Redlands, and this guy's sending me I can't believe this, look, and he's in his Jaguar, and he's wearing his khakis and his white shoes, and he's all filthy, dirty, off-roading. But again, it suits, right? Banker likes the whiskey, and your agent, a man of luxury and taste. He's gonna be bringing in some good wines
and some other stuff.
And we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, we'll have some fun. Yeah,
education and laughs. That's the point of this. Thank you guys so much for taking 30 minutes out of your day to listen. And, we hope that we gave you a little bit of insight on what's to come. So thanks again for joining Mel and myself. And again, be a clever homeowner.
Give us a call, subscribe, hit that like button, and visit the page, right?
Yeah, visit the page.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to get pre-approved, just hit the link below or go to beacleverhomeowner.com. Fill in the quick information, literally 5 seconds. Name, phone number, email, and you get to book a quick 15-minute call with Dave or myself.
And this isn't bots, guys. This isn't one of these things where you call and we sell your information to
none of that.
30 dumbass companies where people are trying to... This isn't something where...
Literally, it comes to us right here in our office, and we'll give you a call ourselves. No telemarketer or anything like that.
Nothing like that. This is legit.
Extremely personal, okay? And we take it as such.
Absolutely. So have a beautiful week.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys again. And one more time, be a clever homeowner. And have a beautiful, fantastic rest of your day.
Fantastic Four coming out. All right, let's go.